Hi guys, am I audible? Hello Jangir, hello Tejas. Am I audible guys? Yes, okay. Okay, so let's start this session then. I'll first introduce myself. So I am Anshul Gupta and I am a lead Unity mentor at G2M, Game to Maker. And I have been developing games since 2018, I guess, when I was in college. And just like all of you, I think a lot of you have don't have any idea how games are made and how all this process works, right? So was I. I didn't have any idea as well back then. I did some research, find out that games are made with game engines. So as a naive developer, I started making my own engine, which was actually very stupid because creating an engine is a lot of task. It is not something that can be created very well with someone who is just in college, and it takes a lot of time and energy as well. So as I said, I didn't have any guidance what to do, how to do. Then I did some more research and then I found out that there are two engines that are free to use, that are one Unreal Engine and second Unity. So I started with Unreal Engine at first because I used to do competitive coding when I was in college, and C++ was kind of my mother tongue. I could speak C++ in my sleep as well. So yeah, so I started with Unreal Engine, made few games in Unreal Engine 4, and then I had my own game ideas, and then those game ideas were for mobile devices, and we all know that Unreal Engine is not optimized for mobile phones, and it doesn't make it inferior than Unity because Unreal Engine has its own advantage as well. But yeah, Unreal Engine back at that time, and it's still, I think it's still it is not that optimized for all the mobile devices. So I had to jump to Unity, and since last 3 4 years, I think 4 years, more than 4 years, I have been working on Unity. All right. Apart from that, I come from a. Is the background noise? Lot of background noise. Okay. Wait a second. Let me check some settings here. Is it better now? Can anyone confirm? Is it better? The background noise is there or not? It is better. Okay, great. Okay, so okay, so yeah, so from the last 4 plus years, I have been working on Unity, and I made a lot of games. And would you guys like to see a little bit about my portfolio or something? Or should we just go on directly for the session? Okay, so I'm gonna quickly show you. Mm, you guys can see it, right? Okay. So basically, this is my personal portfolio. It doesn't include any workfolio. Okay. And the last I updated this was around 2 years. So all these games are from last 2 years. And yeah, it does have one or two projects which are from the work. But apart from that, yeah. And mostly I worked on all kind of genres. I have worked on multiplayer games. Okay. This is a multiplayer game I have worked on using Mirror API. All right, there are two instances, two clients, two users, and this is a multiplayer game. Then this is my own idea. Design everything is on my own. And this is a game where it is made of with Unity. It is a game where you have to use gravity to reach to the final destination. And it works something like this around gravity. It has a lot of physics and everything. You can shoot and everything. Then this is just a project about creating user feedback, polished assets and everything, shaders and everything. So to make a interactive scene using particle systems, cameras, and all. Right. This one I want to show because this was the first game I made in Unity. It was also published on the Play Store, and yeah, this was my first game inspired by Stack Game from Catch Up, very famous game. This was the first game I made in Unity, the very first game. Okay. And this is the best project I think I have made. I lost the actual video. This was only in the development. It is the most complex project I have made on uses a lot of data structure and everything. Might not appear so, appealing, but it is the best project I have made so far. You can see behind a lot of calculations are running, and this project was made on C++. Okay, this is more of a algorithm based project. So I'm just gonna quickly share the portfolio link with you guys if you guys want a reference. Okay, I think I'm not able to comment. Okay. Okay. So my colleague gonna send it to you. Okay. So any questions, guys? Do you guys any questions still yet? There's a 5-10 second of delay, so I have to wait for 5-10 seconds to get a response from you guys. Any questions for me? Yes, no, say something. What does game programming include? Okay. Depends. You can't say there's a good website or anything because some people make in itch.io, some make on GitHub, I made on Wixsite, and some even create their own website as well. And that is my future plan as well. Uh, like I want to create my own website as well for my portfolio once I have a lot bigger portfolio. How many projects are enough for portfolio? Okay, so I think as a starting when you're starting a studio, I think 2 or 3 projects might be. Yeah, Godot is a good engine as well. Uh, After the Unity has changed its policy, a lot of the developers are uh, going for the Godot engine. So yeah, it is a good engine. Important elements to show in a good game folio. Okay, so the very most important thing is that your project should be polished. Okay, by polished it means that it should be visually appealing, very appealing. Like in my portfolio you can see the first multiplayer game you see, actually I put it out of just for I had an interview and they were mainly the first requirement was multiplayer, so I put it at the top. But if you remove that project, you'll see all these projects are in the order of quality wise, and how they are polished. So the first thing that is very important is your portfolio should be polished. Your game should be polished. Reason is the first resume or portfolio you'll send, it will be to a HR. Okay, and a lot of people don't actually understand that no matter how difficult program you have written, how difficult mechanics you have made, uh, at the last what it comes to is how visually appealing it is. Okay, everybody would see, okay, this is looking fantastic, and he or she should be considered. So your portfolio should be polished. Unity versus Unreal industry trend. 2 3 years ago when I started, Unity was a lot in scope because lot of people, a lot of studios in India were based on mobile games. But currently, I have seen a switch, okay, in the trend, and now a lot of studios have a good funding and everything, and they are actually planning to make bigger games and good quality type games. So now a lot of studios are also going for Unreal Engine, which there are a lot of Unreal Engine opportunities right now, which was not there 2 3 years ago. So both engines are better. It depends on the what you are trying to achieve. As uh, PC gaming market in India is also increasing, but at the same time, mobile market, whole global mobile market is also increasing. So both are relevant, and it depends what you want to achieve. As a game programmer, what are things you can implement in a game? What you can think of, that is all about creativity, and that is why video games, creating and playing video games are fun. So what you can think of, you can actually make it, I think. Until unless there's technical difficulties like lot of computation time and hardware, you know, hardware bottleneck or something. That you are trying to do something, some simulation, which is very, which like at this particular time, our hardwares are not enough to catch up with that, your concept. Yeah, two polished projects will be enough for you, Parth. If you want to apply as a fresher, your two projects will be enough, very well enough. 2 or 3 projects are good count as of starting. What language do you need to learn from game programming? Depends what engine you're working on. Like Unity works on JavaScript and C Sharp, mostly C Sharp, and Unreal Engine works on C++. But at the end, you will need an object-oriented programming language. You cannot make in C. C is a procedural programming language. It depends what type of game should be in the portfolio. I do a lot of freelancing. So for me, it is very beneficial to put a lot of genres of game because that highlights to my clients that I have worked on a lot of genres and I can take almost all type of jobs. Like if there are requirement for 2D, 3D, multiplayer. So it depends actually. So my portfolio consists all type of projects so that I can highlight that I have worked on nearly all type of jobs. Mm, what are object-oriented programming? That is something not in the scope right now. This is like it will take a lot of time. It will distract us from the main agenda right now. So yeah. What is alpha and beta stages? Okay. So every time all the producers or all the studios when they develop a game, they produce it in 2 stages, beta and alpha. Beta is for the testing. It is for close close testing where they actually test it in real time with real people. How game is performing, is there anything issues or everything, so they can fix it before there's a final production go. So beta is that when they release the beta to limited people so that they could have a proper analysis whether the game is working fine or not. And once it is working fine, then they uh, produce it to the alpha stage and make it live for the whole global community. All right, guys. So I think that is it, and we should start this session now. And let me first set the agenda of this class. Okay. Let me ask first question: how many of you are have no knowledge of programming and no knowledge of Unity? You are completely new, beginner. Let me just put in the comment how many of you are new and have no programming background. Put it in yes or no. Everybody, please, would really appreciate if you guys do it. Yeah, it would help me to know you guys better. All right, great. All right. So let me set the agenda of this session. In this session, we will be seeing how to make games in Unity. What is the actual process behind it? Okay. First of all, we are not trying to achieve to make it technically better. Okay. Like with proper architecture and with all the industry standards and everything. Reason because the agenda right now is to how to first see that how games are actually made. Okay. Uh, okay. So that is our first agenda. Okay. Second is that there might be obviously a little bit of bugs because as we are not going with proper architecture and everything, so that is fine. Okay, our main agenda here is to see how games are made. Okay, and we will go through a little basic components of what are needed in the game programming. Okay, and which will be in every engine. Even if you take Unreal Engine, a custom engine of Rockstar Games, or maybe Crisis Engine, I don't remember the name of that engine, or Unity Engine, or Godot, all of this engine will have something in common like colliders, rigid body. Okay, so we'll just go with a small start, and we'll just see that how what is the process, what is the thought process behind it, how to think that how to achieve something if you want to make, and how you should think as a programmer to achieve because a lot of time it will be confused. Let's say if I have to say that you have to make a 2D platform, you'll be confused where to start. So we'll just go with the process what have to be done. Okay, all right guys, so are we good to start? Shall we start? Uh, it will be 2D. You can say it will be 2.5D because I'm gonna use 3D assets but make it in a 2D view. Okay, so you can say it will be 2.5D. How to do freelancing as a game programmer? Uh, okay, I think Rahul has a lot of posts about it as how to do freelancing. But yeah, you first have to start making game, and over LinkedIn, Upwork, lot of sites you can make connections and ask them to give you work. That's how I do it. All right. Uh, yes, freelancing really helps. All right, guys, shall we start? Come on, I am waiting for your replies. Yes or no? Shall we start? Yep. Okay. All right, guys. So I guess you all can see the window, the Unity window here. Okay. And I am just gonna remove all of this for now. All right. So first, let me start with. I am guessing a lot of you won't have any knowledge about Unity. So what I'll first do, I'll just give a quick intro about how to set up Unity and everything. First, you have to go to Unity, download whatever you have devices. Windows. And here you can see you will have a link, you can download it. Once you download it and install it, you will see a launcher like this. All right. In this launcher, you have to first go to the installs, and here you have to download Unity Editor. Unity Editor is the main window, this window you will be working on. Okay. This is just a launcher, pre-interface, like an Epic Game Store you have seen, or Steam. Even for the Steam, when you have to launch a game, you first have to download a Steam, and from there you launch your games. It is same like that. The interface is same. You have a launcher where you can download the Unity versions you want. You can add and you can download the versions. You can see I have downloaded this version 2021, which at the last LTS is written. You have to download LTS always as a starter, because LTS represent for long-term support, and long-term support means that Unity will be giving a long-term support for this version. And let's say after 2 3 years of development of your game, uh, you install a version which is not LTS and it will be removed, so you will face a lot of problems there. So, all right, so that's why you have to do a LTS, and you can click next and install. Okay, after it is installed, you have to go to the projects. You can add a new project. You can put the name of your project and the location. Okay, you can decide 2D, 3D, or URP. You can go for a 3D, and later you can convert it to 2D as well. That is no problem there. Okay, and vice versa as well. So you can just set up your project name, the location where you want to set up, and just create the project. Right now, I am at this demo class and I have already launched it because it will take some time. All right. So just for saving some time, I have already launched the project, and you have to also download Visual Studio. Okay. I use Visual Studio. You can use Visual Studio Code as well. And if you have to download the Visual Studio, either you can download it from the Unity as well. When you download the versions, you add it, you will find an option to install the Visual Studio as well. But if you don't, you can manually download it from here as well. Visual Studio 2019 download. Okay, from here you can download your Unity versions. Okay, sorry, my bad. Visual Studio versions, and once it is downloaded, then will if you open any script or something, it will look like this. I have also created one script because Visual Studio takes 2 4 minutes of time as well. But yeah, so whenever you open your project, at the start it will look like this: a sample scene, a camera, and directional light. Okay, and let me just. All right, is it clear by now? Any doubts about downloading the engine? Bro literally has no game downloaded on his PC. You're talking about me? I have games. I don't like it on the desktop actually. So all right. So this is how the editor will look. Editor is something where you'll be creating games. Okay, where you'll be placing your objects and everything. So let's quickly go through the overview of editor, what it's look like. First, you have this scene. Let me just go to the default, how default looks. This is how when you open it will look like this default layout. You will have a hierarchy, you will have a scene view and a game view. All right. I like to place it like this. So I'll place it like how I like it. All right. So first of all, you will have a scene. A scene is something like an environment, okay, which has all the objects, all the elements that are needed. And game view is something which is only the camera view uh, of the gameplay. Let's say, for example, you are into a game like Fortnite or maybe Valorant. Okay, the scene will consist the whole side, the truck, the planting side, the A side, B side, all right, all the props, uh, players, everything, right? And the game view will be something which will be your own perspective, your own camera, your own field of view, and your own perspective, what you will be seeing as a player. Okay. So scene view represent everything that will be in the scene or in the level. And game view is something that is your own perspective, the player's perspective, right? For example, so this is the game view, or your own perspective, what you are seeing. If you rotate, the whole scene will rotate and everything. Okay. And and this could be, you can see a scene view where everything is present, all these elements of the scene and everything, right? Like this or this, everything that present in the scene, it will be in the scene view. All right. So at the starting, we will have two things, camera and a directional light. Direction light acts as a sun, like our own sun, which will have a, wait a second, let me see where my camera is. Okay. And it will actually look like this, skybox, and this will how it will look. And if I have to add a object here, what I'll do, I just right click here in the hierarchy scene and go to the 3D object, and I will add a cube. Okay. Also, this will be as perspective, and if I click on this 2D 3D, I can switch between 2D and 3D view. All right. And right now you can see I cannot see anything. Reason, my camera and object both are placed at the same place, right? So if I move it a little bit back, I can see my object. I can, on pressing W, you will see this gizmos. Gizmos is this visual tools, okay, which you can use to navigate and place objects and a lot of things, okay. So on pressing W, I will see this three things. There are three axes: red, green, and blue. Red here you can see as well. Red represent for the x-axis and the coordinate, y represent for the y-axis, and z represent for the z-axis, right? So these are the three transforms you will see. And on pressing W, you will have this option where you can move it, move your objects. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, okay. You can place it however you want. If you press E, you can rotate it. You can see here, this is your transform. Transform tells you about the uh, object's position, scale, and rotation. That is transform. Okay. It defines the local space, not local space, the space where it presents, the object where it present in the space. So position, it is currently at the 1 in the x-axis, 7 at the y, and minus 17 in the world space right now, my camera. Okay. And it has also rotation. So I can rotate it as well. You can see it is rotating. And you can also see the values here as well. I can rotate it from here as well. Okay. And then at the scale, right now the scale on the camera won't make sense, but if I click on the cube and if I press R is for the scaling, and now if I increase it, you can see it is scaling. Okay, so all the objects that are present in the scene are called game objects. Okay, the objects that are present in the game, simple term, and all of these objects are called game objects. All right. So we are making a 2D platformer. So what I want to do, I'll first reset this all these transforms, and Yeah, wait me. Let me just give a little bit about directional light as well. So you can see on changing the directional light, you can see the difference in intensity and shadows and everything, right? So I'm just gonna reset this. No, not reset. I think this is fine. All right. So let me just set up the camera for a 2D perspective. I'll just set it like this. I will move it a little bit back. Instead of perspective, I'll do it to orthographic. You can see how it has changed the camera. Yeah. Right now, you can see the view of the camera. It is perfectly rectangle, right? You can see the gizmos. And if I change it to perspective, you can see how it has changed. Now it's more like of a theater view, like in a theater. Uh, if you are in a theater, this is your screen. There will be a projector which will be placing it there, and it will be covering like this type of frustum, right? Something like a conical shape, right? So this is a perspective view. Okay, perspective view gives a lot of a 3D feeling. Okay, uh, and orthographic camera is more towards, it gives not much of a depth. Okay, that's the difference. So if I go into the orthographic, you can see it is now perfectly rectangle. Okay, so this is about the scene right now. Any doubts for now? Any doubts by now? Am I having any problem? Wait a second. I'm just gonna. Okay. All right. So yeah. No. Okay. So, all right. So uh, if it is a kind of a going over the head of something, just let me know because we have a limit time and I have to cover it with a little bit of face here, right? So we can manage 2D and 3D and make a game. Yeah, you can. Uh, you can also make a 2.5D type of game as well. It is also a kind of a actual term, 2.5D games. This is, you can say, a 2.5D games, somewhere between 2D and 3D. That is a 2.5D. And you can, if you're talking about the assets as well, then yeah, you can mix the 3D assets and make them into 2D as well. And that's what we are gonna do as well. All right. All right. So let me just refuel myself. All right. So let's continue then. So first thing I want, what is the start process for a 2D? What will be the start process? For me, the start process will be first I need a scene, something I can work with. Right? So what we're gonna do, we have a bigger problem, right? And we'll make it into chunks, smaller chunks, and we will solve those small chunks. And together, when those solved chunks will be combined, we'll solve the whole problem. That's how I do and make games, right? If I see a bigger problem, I'll break it into small pieces and solve one by one all of those problems. And I'm just gonna merge all of this together, and then I will have the final result. What I want. All right. So what is the first thought process? First of all, I don't like this skybox, right? First, I need a view. What I'll do, I'll just go to the main camera instead of skybox. I'll go to the solid color, and I can choose the color what I want. I think I'll go with this kind of gray. It looks fine. Second thing, what I'll do, I'll create an empty game object. And if you go to the empty game object, it will look just like that. Where is my camera? It is at 5. And let's put this reset to 0. Right. So this is my empty game object, and you can see visually nothing here because it is an empty. Only thing it has a transform. It only has the properties of space, where it present in the space and how it is present, right? So I'm just gonna name it environment, okay? Because after this, it will have all the environment things I want, right? So now the next thing I want is for a 2D platformer game is a platform, obviously. So I'm just gonna make a platform. I go to a 3D, I'll make a cube, and now I have a box here, right? If I press the T and I just go into 2D view, and I just want to hide my camera because it has no use. My camera is already set now. So here I can disable, like in the scene, I can disable and enable the scene. Okay. It is present in the scene, right? If you disable the scene like this, now it is disabled. Like the game object now is not present. And if it is not present, you can see there's nothing to see in the game view. No renders, no cameras rendering because camera is something that will render it into your screen. And if you don't have any camera, you don't have any perspective or point of view, so there will be nothing to render, right? So this is your cube. I'm just gonna make it into a kind of a platform. Just place it somewhere else. And for now, I think I will just stretch it to the full part here, right? Now this is my platform and it looks fine. All right. So the second thing I would want is what would I want? I think now it's time to add a player. What I'm gonna do, I'll create an empty game object. I'll just name it player. Alright. And in that player, I will add one more game empty game object, and I will name it sprite. So I'm gonna use for my player, I'm gonna use a 2D asset. All right. So here, what I'll do, I will add a component called sprite. Sprite render is a component where you can assign a sprite. Right? So now my player has two components. One is transform and the second is sprite render. Okay. Transform is responsible for doing things with the space, the position, rotation, and a sprite render is responsible for evaluating or doing things with your sprite. Okay. What is a sprite? A sprite is a 2D image. For now, we can think of sprite as a 2D image. All right. So I have few sprites right now. I would like to mention this asset because it is downloaded from the asset store. Asset store is something where it is a kind of a marketplace for Unity where you can find a lot of free assets and even paid assets. So 2D assets for platform again. It is a marketplace, like you go to a market, buy things, and here I can see a pricing range. I will just go to the free assets, and there are free assets as well. Okay, so I'm just gonna show you once. Let's see if, for example, this is the assets you want to use. You'll just do add to my assets. Once it is added to my assets, then you'll go here in the package manager. Package manager is a window which is responsible for dealing with this external tools and external assets. Okay, so in here I'll go to my assets. It is fetching the assets, what assets I have used, and once you have add to my assets, all those packages will be visible here. And I have used this 2D platformer, which is by Artyom Zagosky, and just want to mention that to give him credits because we are using it. All right. So this is the assets I'm using, and I'm gonna go back to the scene again, go to the sprites, assets, and layer. And these are the sprites. You can see this is the sprite. It has a texture type as 2D, and single mode, everything. These are the sprite settings. And whenever you import any texture in the scene, it will first look like this. It will be on the default setting. But if you have to convert into sprite state, you have to go to the default to sprite, and then you have to apply these changes here. All right. So I'm just gonna go to the sprite, add it here, and now voila, I have a player. Okay, I can see a player, and in the empty object there is a player, and this is my player. So now what I would do, uh, you can see here, if I put it here, uh, somewhere around 2 units from the object here, it is showing at -2, right? If I place it here, you can see it is at still at -2. Reason is this is local to this object. Okay. So I'm just gonna quickly tell you what is the local space and something. Let's say I am in a train. This is a train, and train is moving, and this is a person A right now, and for him, he is currently at a 0, 0, 0 in the coordinate axis, x-axis and y-axis, and train is currently at 1, 0, 1, right? So for object A, this train is appearing at 1, 0, 1, right? And let's assume there is one more guy here. This is the center of the train, okay? This is what we are presenting as 1, 0, 1, okay? And if this is the second person standing in the train, which is somewhere around this distance is somewhere around, you can say, from this center he is 1, 0, 0. It means from the center he is 1 unit in the right axis, right? So no matter if train is travel so far, right? Now the train current new position is at 3, 0, 2. The second person is still standing at 1, 0, 0, right? It is still standing there. So you can say that even this object is train is moving, the object is at rest with this position. It was previously at the 1, 0, 0, and it's still as 1, 0, 0, right? So this is what we call a local space. Is it making sense a little bit about uh, local space, what I'm trying to say? Waiting for you guys reply. Is it clear about the local space, what I'm trying to say here? Yes. Okay, great. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I will just put it at 0 again. Okay, so now my object, my child object, this is called a child object. Just like here, yeah, just like here, this person is a child object to this train, right? It is attached to that train. This person will go wherever this train will take him with it, right? So this is a child object, right? So I'm just gonna place it at the 0, 0, 0. It means that this is my train and my person is also present at the center, at the same center. Okay. So now I'm just gonna move my parent object. This is called parent and this is called child. So I'm just gonna move my parent to here, okay, to the platform, right? So now what is next thing to do? If I go in the play scene, now we are entering into the game state, play state, where you can actually play the game, right? Right now, this will do nothing because we haven't set or write any behavior. Right? So next thing, what I want that right now you can see it is little bit above. You have seen games in a platformer where there's a platform and character will spawn from the top of the screen and it will fall to the ground, right? So let's say I want to achieve that and I want that my player is here and it will store spawn from this position and fall to the bottom, and then the game will start, right? So right now you have seen nothing will happen. Reason there is no behavior set to it. So what I'll do, I'll first want to add a gravity so that it can fall down. So for adding gravity, what I'll do, I'll add a rigid body 2D. There's two type of rigid body. This one is for the 3D and this one is for the 2D. Obviously 3D is more complex, and even for processing time, it will take a little bit, it will do a lot of complex calculation. Our agenda is for 2D only, so we'll just use the 2D right now. And once I have a 2D rigid body attached, I will play it, and you can see my player is falling, right? It will fall, it will fall for forever. You can see it is falling, right? So what is a rigid body? A rigid body, if we go to the physics term, uh, rigid body is a complex solid object which has a center of mass, and it is not a point object, and physics properties are affected on those on that object. You can apply force, torque, and it is completely unelastic, and it is completely a physics term. If you want a proper definition, rigid body in physics. So in physics, it is a solid body which deformation is zero. I mean, when it is compressed, it cannot be deformed. But if we talk about rigid body in unity, rigid body in unity means that everything that can be affected or can be used with physics, okay, that is a rigid body component. Okay, so here you can see gravity, angular drag, mass. Mass is also a physics property, right? It is a physical quantity. So apart from that, collision, right? Collision is something, you know what is the definition for collision. If it is this is my hand, and if this is a wall, if I do it like this, then this right hand and left hands are collided, and it cannot pass through, right? So this is collision. So rigid body is a component which deals with all the physics things, right? If you want the proper definitions for that as well, you can go. I mainly use Google for the proper definitions, because if I rephrase it in my words, it will not be delivered as it should be in not proper words. So we can use Google for proper definition. So rigid body in Unity means same thing. Rigid body provides a base physics based way to control the movement position of a game object, and rigid body enable your game objects to act under the control of physics. That's it. Okay. All the physical things, physics properties, all will be controlled by this rigid body. All right. So you can see once I have added the rigid body, here you can see a gravity scale. If I put the gravity scale to 0, it means the gravity is now 0. Okay. So now again, it has the rigid body, but the object will not fall because it has the gravity scale to 0. I'll just gonna increase it to 1, and you can see it is now falling at the end. All right. Next thing, what I want is that, okay, my object is falling, but it is not coming at a position of rest when it is colliding with this platform, right? So what I want for this, I have to add a collider. What is a collider? Collider is a component which defines the boundaries. Okay, it defines the bounds and boundary of an object. So here you can see, if you see in the cube, you can see it has a box collider. If I click on this button, you can see the bound it is represented. This green line you can see. I'll just go and disable this mesh render. Mesh render is something which is responsible for rendering the appearance of your object onto the screen. So if I just disable it, you can see if it is disabled the component, my mesh will not be, my object will not be rendered because I disabled the component which is responsible for handling. So now you see this green foundation, it is called a collider. Okay. Collider is something that defines the boundary. Like if this is my hand, okay. So this is my foundation. This the boundary of my hand is the foundation. So same thing I want is on the player. I want a collider as well, because if one thing has a foundation, other is not, other is having no foundation, then how two things will collide? Right? They have to be both bounded. Right? So I'm just gonna go here and I just add a box collider 2D. Okay. If I go to here, you can see the foundation. I'm just gonna increase it a little bit so that it is the foundation is to the end of its length, and I'll just put it from here a little bit, and now if I press play, you might think it will collide, but it will not. Reason reason is this is box collider 2D and this is box collider which is a 3D. For 2D things to needed to be collided with 2D, we need a box collider 2D. We go to the space and it has already set its foundation. Okay. Now if I press play, go to the player, increase the gravity, fine. Now my player is perfectly spawned, right? It is perfectly spawned here, right? So just put it to one. It is very frustrating to do it every time I played. So just put it one. And any doubts by now? Changes made in child object will not affect parent. No, it will not. I mean, depends what is the connectivity. You can affect the parent as well, but generally no. 3D rigid body gives more customization than rigid body 2D. Customization, what do you mean by customization? I mean, there's no customization. 3D rigid body is for the 3D objects. 3D objects are a lot of things. Okay. 3D objects will affect differently from 2D. Okay. So 3D objects, let's say for 2D objects, there are two types of velocity only, x-axis and y-axis, right? So if you have to add a velocity to your object, you can add it only two direction, either x-axis or y-axis, right? That is rigid body 2D. But for the rigid body 3D, now you have a separate axis for the z-axis as well, forward direction, and you can add a velocity in the forward direction as well. So it's just about the extension of 2D rigid body. It's 3D rigid body, you can say, is an extension of 2D rigid body, and it has a lot of things which should be like for the 3D only. All right. Any doubts, guys? Any doubts? Waiting for your reply, guys, so that I can continue. Guys, any doubts? Should I continue? Please respond, guys. All right. All right. So now have a player which can be spawned, and the next thing what I want is next thing I want is input. I want that my player should be moved when I'm pressing keys on my keyboard. Okay. So adding for that behavior, now we will go to the scripting. For scripting, I have already not this script folder, and I already created one script for the player because it takes time to load the Visual Studio. And what I'm gonna do, this is my C# script where I will be adding the code. Okay, so I'll just go here, and at the start of every script, you will see two things. One is a start function, and second is a update function. Okay, so start function is something which is at the start and it will only run once, right? Let's say, for example, uh, as soon as my object is spawned, right? At the start, this function will run, this method will run only at once, only the first time, right? For example, you can say that every time you are spawning, every time you're spawning, right? You want that player should be at this position, right? And it should run only once, because once the game is started, now you don't need it. You don't need that method, right? At the start of something, you want to do something. So at that point, you want to do those things to do write those methods there. Okay, I mean the functionality. So I'm just gonna write something debug.log just to show you how the start will log. Debug.log, and I'll just write player is spawn, and I save this using Control S, and you can see it is reloading now because I've made some changes. And this window is called console. This is project where you handle all your assets and everything, right? And this is a console. Console is a window where you can log messages and print infos which are necessary for debugging purposes and to see what is actually going behind the code, right? And there are three types of flags you can raise. First is normal debug message, second is warning, and third is error. That there is some error. Right now I have put a normal log. So if I press play, you will see nothing will happen. Okay. Reason, I have the script, I have written it, but it is not attached to the player. Okay. The component is not attached. Right? So for adding that behavior, I can drag it and add that behavior. Now my player game object is also in an influence of this component called player. And in that component, as soon as the game starts, I have written in the start function that it will write an info that player is spawned. Okay. And now if I play it, you can see the object is the info is printed, player is spawned. Okay. And you can see it is spawned only at once, right? Only one time. Second method is update. Update is something that is will be in the loop. Okay, that will be the loop of the object, and update will run every frame. Okay, for example, what is an update? How this will work is you have a game. Okay, and in the game you have particular things which you have to do repeatedly. Like first you have to take input repeatedly because you don't know when you have pressed, when the player has pressed an input. It will be every time, right? Every frame you have to check whether an input is given or not. You have to process that input. So every time you have to take input. Second, you have to process that input. By process that input, I mean do things like if the player has pressed W, then you have to walk forward. So you will process that input. You will run the physics every time. Why? Because every frame you have to check whether your player is colliding with something or not. Let's say for if you are pressing W, right? You have pressed it and the player is continuous moving. So at that continuous moving, you have to check whether that player is collided with some object or not. Right? So you have to run physics, and at the same time you have to render. You have to do rendering as well. What is rendering? Rendering means everything that is in the game have to be rendered into 2D view. everything that is visual to your monitor, that is visible on your screen, that is called rendering, right? Computing all those data into like uh, all the physical data you have, like a mesh or everything, that will be converted into 3D view to 2D view onto your computer with a proper colors. That is called rendering, right? Every frame you have to do that. If you're playing Valorant or something, you're pressing W. Every time you see that you're playing is moving forward, or if you see an enemy is moving forward, every time you will see that a player is moving forward one by one step every time. I don't know if you guys have seen this. I don't know if you guys have seen this. People draw a lot of pictures on a notebook and they just quickly flip it and it looks like moving, right? That's how rendering also works. So you can say every page is like every picture is like a frame. Just like you record a video in your mobile phone, a video is also a sequence of pictures, which when played really fast looks like a video, right? So that's how rendering also works. Every frame, you are taking a set of pixels into your screen. You're discarding it and drawing the next pixel again, drawing it again, drawing it again. So it looks like that your scene is moving, the anime is moving forward, right? Is this clear? What I'm trying to say? Is it clear, guys? Please reply yes or no. I need the feedback from you. Thank you. Okay. So, and let's now check how update works. Player is present. Okay. And if I go into the scene again, okay. So now you can see player is a spawn printed only once because it is at the start, but you can see player is present as printing again and again. Right? Reason it is in the update. It is doing it every frame. Okay. So that's why it is a continuous loop. It will check. So as yeah. So for the input, we will use the same function. Why? Because input can be given at any point, right? And we have to check when the input is given. So how will we do it? We'll go if input dot get key down or get key, and if the key is key code dot d, then I want to move my player in the right direction, right? So what I'll do, first I have to access the rigid body. What? So I will do rigid body 2D, rigid body which we have added in the, you know, uh, our game object, our player, right? So what I'll do here is I'll just make it public here. Okay. So I will write public rigid body, rigid body. Okay. And now, as I said, that rigid body is responsible for physics things, right? So next thing is I want to move my object. So how my object will be moved once I added velocity. Now, where is the place I can add a velocity? It is not in the mesh renderer. It is not in the sprite renderer. It is in the rigid body because rigid body is responsible for handling the velocity. So what I'll do, I'll just add rigid body dot add velocity. Sorry, not add velocity, a velocity. And I'll just add it vector. I want it in the right direction, right? So in the scene you have seen there were gizmos which was representing like this x-axis, right? Forward axis and the upward axis. What I want is I want to move it in the here right direction. So what I'll do vector 2 dot right into time dot delta time into speed. Okay. Uh, as there is no mention of speed here, I have to first add a speed here. Okay. Public load. All right. So that is it. Let's check if my object moves in the right direction or not. Okay. So go in the scene. The runtime is too much now. So my piece is a little bit laggy. Okay. So let's play. I didn't want to play that time. Okay, no problem. We'll set the settings in the runtime. All right. So I have to go to the player and I'll just drag this rigid body here. So it will have a reference of a rigid body because right now, if I say that, let's say for example, uh, I want to meet a person, right? So I first have to know about that a person, right? Then only I would be able to meet that person. Same way, player script doesn't know anything about the rigid body. So it has to access for the able to access it. It first need a reference to know that what is that rigid body you want to access, right? So we'll just give it a reference so that it knows that we want to communicate with this rigid body, right? And we'll just add a speed of 5. And now if I press D, you can see it is slowly moving into the right. Let's increase it to 20. And you can see it is moving in the right direction. Now I'm pressing D right now. And if I release it, it will stop moving. Okay. You can also see how the position is changing. And you can also see here, when I press D, you can notice this velocity component in the rigid body. You can see a two velocity in the x-axis is right now. And if I go out of the bound, then my player will fall down and my camera is still there. So let's set this now. Okay. So first I don't want to do this every time. So I'll just in the edit mode, I'll assign this parameters here 20, and I'll just add, let's just increase this a little bit to the right, and increase the velocity more to like, I guess 30, 35. And we'll go to the script and we will add a code for the same thing here, which will be for going left. So what I'll do, if the key I'm pressing is D, then move to the right. If else, else if the key is not D, but the key that I pressed is A, I want to move it to the left with the same speed. And same thing, if I have pressing W, I want it to jump. Okay, so for jumping, what I'll do, I will add a force. Okay, so I'll just do add force and public float jump force. Right, and we'll just add jump force here, and it needs a mode. What type of mode? So I'm just gonna add a impulse here. Okay, it also needs in which direction. So I'm just gonna do it vector 2 dot up into jump force. So the jump force vector 2 dot up is in the up direction, and I'm multiplying it with the jump force so that I have a amplitude what I want. Okay, vector 2 dot up, if you see here, you'll see the coordinate is 0 comma 1 in the coordinate axis, 0 in the x-axis and 1 in the y-axis. Okay, and it is a unit vector. So for adding an amplitude, I have to multiply it with a jump force. Okay, let's go again in the code and add a jump force to, for now, let's say 5, and let's play. So now it is moving forward, backward, and if I press space bar, nothing is happening. Okay, so what I need here is get key down. Get key works for like if you have pressed the key, and if you're pressing it, get key will run. And get key down is the first time you have pressed the key. Okay, so all right, let's try this. If it has worked, we'll just get key down and see. Let's put the force to 100. I think I have to play it again. Okay, my bad. I'm pressing space bar. I have to space uh, too much force, and once the force is depleted, it is now falling back again. Actually, I was pressing space bar and I have written the code for pressing W. So this at 10 here. That is fine. Let's do 5. Now it is jumping, but what I feel right now is that it is looking a lot monotonous. It is not making fun here. The jump is not fun to me. Right? So what I'll do here, if you have noticed in the game like Mario or platformer games, you might have noticed that when the player jumps, it will jump with a normal speed, but when it comes down, it comes with a lot more speed, right? The speed will be a little bit more, right? So that's what I would like to do. Okay. So let's say if we have to implement that, what we can do. So how would you think of this problem? So what I want is when the player is going up, let it be with the same speed as it going. But when it's coming down, I want it to be with a lot more speed. So what I can do, when it is coming down, I can increase the gravity, right? If the gravity at the when it is coming down is increased, then it will be coming faster, right? So what I'll do, I have to check now if it's the velocity is positive in the upward direction or negative. So what I'll do, I'll just check if rigid body dot velocity dot y, yeah, y. That means the velocity in the y direction is greater than 0, means it is positive. So I want the gravity rigid body dot gravity scale to be 1. And if else if it is not positive, it is negative, it means that the velocity is now pointing at the negative direction. I want to increase that gravity to 1.2, and let's do it to greater than equal to 0. So even when player is not falling and it is when it is fall down and the velocity is 0, then it is again equal to 1, right? So let's check this. Let me add a variable for here. Public float gravity modifier, and I'm going to use that variable here so that I can tweak it that in the runtime. Right? So okay, let's check this. Can I make it to double jump? Yeah, I'll show it right now. Just wait. Let's put the gravity modifier to 1.2, and just notice here in the gravity scale. Okay, this gravity scale, how it is going to work. So it is 1. If I press W, nothing's changing. Wow. Okay. Huh. Uh, Velocity is positive and negative. Coming negative, my gravity scale is not changing. Hmm. Why it is not changing? Because as I said, that get key down registers only once, right? There are three states of when the key is pressed. First, when you first press it. Second, when you pressed it and you are still pressing it, and the third is when the key is released. Okay, what code I have written here is right now for the down, it means it works only once. So when it is only working once, obviously the velocity will be the positive and this code will only work once, but I want it to be working in the update. What I'll do, I'll remove it from here and I'll paste it here. So now it is working in all the frames. Okay, so now let's check it. Now let's notice the gravity scale. It should work right now. And It's kind of deflecting between 1.2 and 1 because this collider, as I said, this collider is kind of adding, uh, you know, uh, velocity to it. It might be jittering or there's some kind of velocity here. Let's say, yeah, I think this is better. You can see if I when I go up, the gravity is positive. When I come down, the gravity is 1 point. Let's increase it to 1.7. Yeah, this feels like a platformer now. Feels like a Mario now. Let's put it to 2. This is fine. And jump force to 6. The speed should be a little bit more. Let's do it 50. Still low. Let's do it 200. All right. So the controller is kind of not like a platformer now. So what we have to do, because here we are simply adding a velocity to ride. Now what I want to do, I want to do new vector tool and 1 comma what is the whatever the current velocity of the layer in the y direction velocity dot. Okay, and the same thing I would like to do here with the vector left, where I'll put the at -1 so that it moves in the negative axis. And yeah, and this seems fine now. And instead of else if, I would do if, so that I can press D, like I can go in the right and jump at the same time, right? Else what it will do, if I'm pressing D, then I won't be able to jump because it is in the if and else, right? If it is doing, then do the else don't do it, something like that, right? So I want all the conditions to running, all the conditions to work at any time, right? So I'm just gonna do if and now in the go in the code, I press it 200, put the scale to 2, jump force to 6. This setting seems fine to me. And if I press play now, okay. So now what has happened? I have pressed the key and where's my player? I have to restrict somehow that where's my player? That is being somewhere. Okay. So what has happened here right now that the I have added a force. Okay. And these velocity are going in the are continuously going. It is not coming down. Okay. So we have to debug it right now. So let's see what is happening here. If this is this one, let's try it again. What is happening? This is a part of a developer cycle where you have to debug and do a lot of things like this. If you press W, it is fine. If I press D, it is fine. If I press A, it is fine. If I press D, and if I press W, then it is not going in the right direction. So something is going when I'm pressing the D and same time giving it the input on this. Okay. So okay. So first thing I have to add is that I don't want it to be double jump because if I press it, it can jump infinite times I want, because I have to check somehow that if it is in a air, then you should not be able to jump. So if I press W right now and W and W and W, you can see it is going up, 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 and up, right? So I first have to uh, write a code where when if it is in air, I should not be able to jump again. Okay, I should be able to jump only when it is in the. So what I'll do in this queue, I'll just add a tag called ground. Okay, tags are uh, tags are used to make a set of objects and collectively say something about it. Let's say that all the I will make in the game will be of type ground. Okay, so tag is something to define the collectiveness of the objects. Okay, so I'm just gonna go in the queue and I will assign that tag to this ground. So now my this cube is of type ground. Okay, and now I go to the player and I will just write a function on trigger enter 2D because it is a 2D, and I will just write if collision dot game object dot tag is equal to ground, then can jump is equal to true. Okay, and I'll just make a boolean here. Boolean can jump is equal to true. At the starting, I want it to be true, right? So can jump is no, at the start my player is falling from the top, right? So from the starting I don't want it to be should be able to jump. Okay, so I'll just do can jump equal to false, and when I am jumping I'll just here do can jump is equal to false. Okay, so once I have jumped, now it will not be able to jump until it is collided with the mm, ground. It should be on collision enter actually. On collision enter. I have to check the syntax of it. On collision enter to the and here I'll just say okay. So now this function is fine. Okay, and we'll just go in the editor once. Yeah, we'll make it right. So don't worry. Okay. So I think this session will be 30 minutes more longer. Okay. I'll just add maybe add a few animations and that will be it. Okay. Uh, so I have now this here. Is it going too fast? No, no, no. So what code we have added actually right now? Jump, double jump, right? It is still jumping. Jump force. Can jump is true. If I press W, can jump is false. Okay, can jump is false, obviously, but I haven't added a code here to check, and that can jump is equal to true. Okay, so only if can jump is equal to true, then only this code will run. Okay, so yeah, that I missed from my end, and now it should work. Okay, so if I press jump now, can jump is false now. Is the spelling correct here? I did the tag one. I think I didn't save it. I tag ground and we'll save it. We'll go to the queue. We'll save it. We'll go to this. So I'm just gonna add two more things and then we will wrap this up. Okay. I'll just add how to make our camera follow. First thing. And second, what I'll do is add animations, a little bit animations. Okay. So now if I press W, you can see it is only, I am continuously pressing W then, but it is only jumping once, right? So someone asked, how would you make it double jump? Now I think you can think of it that you'll just make it a count of two. Okay. The first time you'll jump, you will make the count decrease by one. That means you still have one jump available. And once you double jump it, now you have zero. Okay. And after you have touched the ground again, your count will be again reset to two. So every time you have touched the ground, it will be, you will have two jumps, double jump, right? Who has asked that question? Is it clear now? How will you make it? I think Krishna has asked about it, right? Okay, so now what we'll do, if I press D right now, you can see my player is out of the screen now. So I have to make the camera follow, right? What I'll do, the simplest solution for this is make the camera child of the player. Okay. Uh, no, that will be a little bit of problem because I'll show you why. Okay. So this is why the this is a like making camera parent is a problem because now camera is a local object of player, right? So camera, just like that train and person example, camera will go wherever the player would want it to go. Okay. So what we'll do, we'll just make the player a little bit down here. Okay? And we'll just do the camera. We're just changing a little bit purpose here. Okay. So else the second solution is you can make a separate script for camera, and you can just change the position according to the player, and you just have to give the reference of the camera to the player. So every time player is moving, the camera should also move at the same time, right? So now if I press W, you can see my camera is also following. Okay, you can see it is following. In the game, you can also see I can jump, and I think I double jumped, maybe something. I don't know. Let's wait. Problem is do it just like this, because it is getting affected with this. And at the last, I'll just do rigid body dot velocity is equal to vector 2. This will be affected as well. What we can do for this is, mm, so right now what is happening is that when I'm pressing the D and I'm also jumping, these values are not getting updated correctly. Okay, so I have to store it somehow, or we can let it be right now. Okay, for let's just save our time to what is important right now. This debugging we can do later. So yes, so now let's add animations. Okay, so for adding animation, what I have to do, I have to add a component which is responsible for uh, the animations. Okay, so what I'll do, I first create a folder and I'll just name it animations. Okay, and after the animations, I'll just right click here and I'll go to the animator controller and I'll just name it player. And now what I'll do, I go to the player, I'll just add a animator. Okay, so now I'm just gonna assign the animator here. I double click it, and now there is a window open. Okay, so first I would want to create a idle animation. So I'll just make it an idle, and this needs an animation clip. So what I'll do, I'll create an animation clip, and I'll name it idle, and I'll just go here and I'll assign it the idle animation clip. If I double click the idle and if I click on the player, so now you can see if I add a property, I'm currently at idle. I can go to the sprite and sprite renderer. And in that sprite renderer, I will add a sprite. Okay. Is it added? There it is. Why I can't see it? Wait a second. Refresh button. Double click it. Okay, now it's there. I don't need this property. So what we're gonna do, you can see these are the two sprites. If I go in the assets to the performers, assets, layer, and idle. So I have these four assets. I'll just delete this, control select all, and I will put it here. I think I have to manually assign it here. This is first. What is going on here? Not able to add. See this actually. This sprite. Okay, let me try this. Instead of having sprite here, let's add it here. Okay, and we can disable this. I don't know, the issue is might be it is lagging or not. It's not working as it's supposed to be. Let me create one more animation clip here. Idle, and let's put it here. And let's make this animation a loop so that it will loop. And double click this animator, add a sprite menu, sprite, and go to this sprite and add it, add it, add it, and select all. And I'm just gonna make it 1 second. And let's see how it will look. This is select. So now we can see an idle animation of a player. And someone said to make it face it this way. So we can flip it, and so now our animation is playing. Let's make it a little bit fast. I think a little bit more fast. 10 seconds. 10 is too much. 20 is fine, I guess. Okay. So now if we go play, we can see the animation is playing. The idle animation is playing. And now we want that on walking, we need to create a walk animation. So the same way we created an idle animation, we'll do the same thing. Instead of idle, I'll just create a animation, one more clip that will be walk, and double click walk, select the object, and right now you can see it is pointing at the idle. So because it doesn't know anything about a walk, so I first have to set it in the animator. So what I'll do walk animation at Here is fine or here. Let's create it here actually. Okay, and just make some transitions here. So from idle, it will go to the walk, and when the walk is completed, it will return back to the idle. That's what this arrow means, right? From the idle animation, if I press W, A or D, it will go to the walk animation, and if I release the keys, then it will go again back to the idle key. So now I'll go to the walk. I will go to the run, and it has three sprites only. So okay, I'm just going to select all and place it here. Where this, okay, I first have to add a property, sprite renderer, sprite, the same problem again. I don't know what is the problem here. Let's just go to the block again. Okay, it is added. No, it is provided for block. Yeah, it is added. I'll go to the scene and see how it is working. Just do first. Let's make it for a 0.10 second. Little bit more. 15 maybe. Yeah, 15 is fine. Okay. So now what we want to do, we have to somehow trigger. We have to tell it, the animator, that now it is in the walking state and now it is in the idle state. So what we'll do, we'll click on this arrow. We'll go to the settings, has exit time to 10. Okay. And the same here will go to 10. So it is not kind of mixing the two animations, because if this is a sprite animation, we want the sprites to be fully complete, right? And we don't need the has exit time here. These are some properties. Not important right now. The important thing right now is we have to create a parameter that will do. mm, Also, the walk animation also has to be looped because it will run continuously. What we have to do, we have to create a boolean called walk. Okay, and when we want to go from idle to walk, we will just do walk is equal to true, and what is coming from walk to idle, we have to just do walk equal to false. Okay, so now what we have to do, we need a reference of the animator so that we can change the animation. So we'll go here, we'll add public animator, animator, and when it is walking, we will simply say animator dot set bool, and here we will enter the name was walk, and we will just add the status to be true. And the same thing we will do for here as well, when it is walking, and if it is not working, so what we'll do, we will do here, so if this is not pressed, or even a key is not pressed, we want the walking animation to come back, go back to idle. So we'll make it false, right? So if the press D is not D, uh, press D, also the press D is not A, right? So we'll go back to the idle state again. We'll go to the scene here. Is it clear by now? Why may bool instead of trigger? We can make it trigger as well, but we have to go back again, right? Trigger will kind of just work once. We have to check as well that when it is going back to the idle state as well. So that's why I made it bool. Go to the player, we will go to the play script, we will add the animator, give it the reference, and let's check if we have implemented everything correctly or not. Okay, it is on the idle state right now. You can see in the animator as well. It is idle. If I press D, on pressing D, nothing is happening right now. The spelling is correct. The spelling is correct. The animator dot set rule is not working. And the same thing again, I think goes for. Let's make it an else as well. Input get key. No, down will work only once. What I want is okay. Let's do get key down, and here let's do get key down, and same thing we can do for here as well. When the get key up is released, it means that the key is released, or the get key up. Then we can make the set Ubuntu, and we can remove this from here. So let's check the condition again. If the when the D is pressed or A is pressed, we will set the boolean to true for walking. If when it is released, we will set the boolean to false. So let's check it once. The animator, is everything fine here? I think something is still not implemented right. Check it. Idle is playing. The walking is playing. And again the idle is playing. It's kind of flickering because might be the animation clip is not might be set right. It is, I think it is happening because of this extra frame. I think I had one extra frame here. Yeah, this frame. So it is of empty. So now it should not be flicker. Yeah, now it is fine. That empty key was there and it has no sprite attached to it. So that's why it was flicker. But yeah, so now you can walk, you can go back, you can jump, and you can jump, press forward, and your camera is also moving. All right. Now what you can do, you can just go here, make a platformer game. Is and right now we don't have a time, so I think I have saw somewhere here this guy already has the enemy, so I'm just gonna use his enemy here. Okay, you can make your enemy as well. You can see for enemy as well. It has the animator, enemy square, box collider, rigid body square, and a collider for something else. And then we can press play, and there is an enemy that is moving. You can jump as well. I think the this has to be little bit more like this. Or maybe I can increase the jump force. Let's increase the jump force. Okay. So this problem is because of the see when two colliders are colliding. So if I press a force to it, you can see that because of the torque, my hand will go behind like this, right? So for that, what we want in the rigid body, we want that the player should not be rotated or do something like this. So we'll go to the constant and we will do freeze rotation. So now it will, the physics on colliding will not affect the rotation of it. Okay. So now if I press play, so now the rotation is freezed. Okay. And into the jump force to 12, and now I can jump this one. Yeah. So that is it, I guess. And we don't have much time, else we will add the coins here, and we will be creating our own enemy as well. Game over, game complete, and lot of things. Maybe a power up to kill the enemy as well, or maybe just like Mario, if we directly collide with it, we will die. Well, if if we go on the top of it, it will be squished. So we don't have much time right now, so I think I have to wrap it right now. And I think that is enough for demo class, and it actually tells you a lot about how things works, what is the process, how to deal with things, and what are the basic components of game. Is it clear, guys? Any doubts? How did you like the session? Can you reply? Now I'm up for questions. I think that is enough for today's lecture. I would like to hear from you. How was it? Like, is it helpful if you are really new to it? Did it make any sense? What is going on? How to break problems and how to break a single problem into multiple files? And again, the agenda of this class was not to, yeah, and again, the agenda was not to show exactly and how to like do things effectively with proper architecture, and also not to solve all the bugs because it is a part of a game development. So bugs will come and go. You have to fix, you have to find, you have to debug, you have to check what is going on. Okay, great. Any questions? Any questions for me? Any guidance about like um professional, like how to get about how things works in its proper studios, about work life, anything? Abhinay, can you put a question if they have any doubts or anything? Else, I think we are good to close up the session then. All the course related, all the course related information you can contact with the administration team. Okay. Um, okay, so journey. Okay, so I was into games since I was like 8 9 years old, and this precious gift is just because of the video games. You see, plus two eyes. Okay, and so I was into gaming a lot. I have played games like Total Overdose. I haven't played much games, but I have played some games and was really into it. After 10th, I decided to go for engineering and was preparing for IIT and all. So those 2 years, 11th, 12th, I couldn't play games or else. But after I get the college, then I started gaming again. I got my own laptop. I did my BTech from computer science. I started with Fortnite, and Fortnite was a game that actually put a spark in me and put a real interest in me that how these things work, because Fortnite is a game that has everything. Sometimes they in the event they change all of the gameplay. They will add new gameplay. The events they held, the rocket one and the where the robot was fighting the dragon, that was very appealing and very mesmerizing to me. Very. And that bring me to, I was more into this complex, doing complex things and all. I was from the starting work, wasn't into web development at all. So I decided either I want to go into the machine learning AI, or I wanted to do a gaming. So I later decided that I can do both in video game development, and then I started with my family. I first create my own game in the command prompt, you see, command prompt in the Windows. I created a snake game, and then I told you about how I found the engines I made into Unreal Engine and then Unity. Then I got a job from TNP, but I didn't want to go with that because I wanted to make a career in game development, and I wanted to create my hobby into my passion and my passion into my profession. And I got a job from TCS, Tata Consultancy Service, but I withdraw my like what is the opposite of I declined the offer letter from the TCS and convinced my parent that this is what I want to do. And for the 1 year, I started making games, and I was a self learner, and I created all of those games, like 3 4 5 games. I participated in game jam. Then after giving like 3 4 interviews, I got rejected from all of those. And then later, after the fourth or fifth interview, I got a job. And then after that, I started. It was a company in Gurgaon, and they was making hyper casual games. And yeah, that's it. That's how I started my game dev journey. And mostly I worked on hybrid casual and hyper casual games, and also casual games. But if you consider freelancing work and personal work, then I also created FP shooter multiplayer games, and car games, lot of games. So yeah, how can we create a game document? You don't have to create a game document. Programmers don't create game document. It is a job, responsibility of game designers. Game designers are responsible for creating GDD. You will not be able. You will create a documentation for the programs you have written, but you will not create the game document. Okay. Are there any jobs related to game documentary? What does it mean? Documentary. You, if you're saying about the GDD, like how the games look, what will be the mechanics, what will be the aesthetics, like on paper, if you're constructing a house or something, you first create a blueprint out of it. So if you want that to be blueprint and you want a job, then it is a game design. I think game design is a field where you create this stuff, where you lay out how the game will look, and that is a part of game design. Game art is different, and game programming is different. Okay. Game art works on what the game will look. Game programs will work on uh, how will the game work, and game design work on what will be the gameplay, what will be the game look like, and everything. Okay. Game design is a documentation blueprint. Okay. Any more doubts? Should we close it? Abhinay, I think we can close it then. Yep, we are done. You can put the gamer to make the important links at the end so they can go for. Can we have your social? Okay. Just wait for a second. How can I? Or you can directly join. What you can do, Tejas, you can directly go to the Discord server, join our Discord session, and there you will be able to find me with ID Cypher 19. Okay. Or you can just go into the Unity General section and just ping me. I will respond to you. Okay. That's how we can get connected. Okay. For now. Just join our Discord server, and just put a hi, introduce yourself, go into the Unity General section, and just put that hi, I'm Tejas and wanted to connect with you. Okay? Yep, that will be great. Okay, Abhinav, on up to you. You can close it. I'll stop sharing my screen.